Welcome, everyone, to vpod.ai. I'm your host, Mike, and I'm joined today by our expert guest, Susan. You can sponsor this podcast for just $25. Your message will be featured across major platforms like Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and more. If you're interested, visit vpod.ai to get started today.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you. So I want you to imagine for a second that your entire financial existence, like your ability to buy groceries or pay for electricity or even pick up life-saving prescriptions, is tethered to one single, very specific piece of plastic in your wallet.
Which is a pretty terrifying thought if you really, stop to consider it.
Exactly. Because for most people, if a bank card gets compromised or just suddenly stops working, it's a minor annoyance.
Right. You just pull out a backup credit card.
Yeah, or you transfer funds using an app on your phone.
Huh.
But right now, for about 3.4 million Americans, there is no backup card.
No, not at all.
There's no other bank account. There is only the Direct Express prepaid MasterCard. It functions as this absolute, non-negotiable lifeline for people who receive Social Security, veterans benefits, and other federal payouts.
Yeah, basically individuals who operate entirely outside the traditional banking system.
Right. And for over 15 years, the fundamental mechanics of how millions of Americans access that money just haven't changed.
No, they really haven't. It has essentially been a completely static environment since 2008, I believe.
Wow, 2008.
Yeah. But right now, a massive and honestly largely invisible financial infrastructure shift is actively underway.
Yeah, that 15-year status quo is just being dismantled.
Totally. The entire system is being rebuilt while millions of people are still, actively relying on it to function perfectly every single day.
Which is wild. So the mission for our conversation today is to really break down the mechanics of what is happening with these federal benefit payouts.
Because there's a lot happening beneath the surface.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to uncover the somewhat bizarre corporate drama happening behind the scenes, and most importantly, we're going to explain the specific mechanisms you can use to protect your money.
Right, because this is inherently a highly vulnerable transition period for a lot of folks.
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this. We have 3.4 million people relying on this one specific Treasury-backed card.
A huge number of people.
Right. And the government is changing the operator. They're moving the entire program from Comerica Bank, which has managed it since its inception, over to Fifth Third Bank.
Right, a massive swap.
Yeah. But before we get into the wild corporate maneuvering, we really need to establish the reality of who this affects. When we say unbanked Americans, what does that actually mean in practice?
Well, so that term unbanked, it refers to individuals who just do not have a checking or savings account with a traditional financial institution.
And that's not always by choice, right?
Oh, definitely not. The reasons vary wildly. Sometimes it's simply due to a lack of physical bank branches in, say, rural areas or low-income urban neighborhoods.
Right, banking deserts.
Exactly. But frequently, it's because traditional banks require these minimum balance fees that people living strictly on fixed federal benefits just cannot maintain.
Yeah, if you're on a fixed income, a $15 monthly fee is a massive hit.
It's huge. Or perhaps they have a history of overdraft fees that effectively just lock them out of the traditional system entirely.
So for this demographic, the Direct Express card isn't just some nice convenience.
No, not at all. It is literally their only mechanism for participating in the modern economy.
Because without it,
Without it, they can't pay a bill online, they can't withdraw cash without paying exorbitant check cashing fees at some storefront.
which means any disruption to this specific card is basically a devastating crisis.
Absolutely.
So moving 3.4 million accounts to a completely new banking operator just sounds like an absolute logistical nightmare.
Oh, it is. It's incredibly complex.
I mean, you are essentially changing the plumbing in a massive apartment building while the water is still running.
That's a really good way to look at it, yeah.
It's this incredibly delicate operation where the end user, the person relying on that monthly check to survive, shouldn't feel even a drop in water pressure.
Right. The water just has to keep flowing.
So how is the Treasury actually executing a swap of this magnitude without breaking everything?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the Treasury totally understands the catastrophic risk of disruption. which is why they've engineered a highly staggered rollout rather than just, a sudden switch.
Because you can't just flip a switch for millions of people.
You cannot simply flip a server switch and mail out 3.4 million new debit cards on a random Tuesday.
That would be chaos.
Total chaos.
Yeah.
If they attempted that, sure, the postal system would experience strain, but far more critically, the activation servers would crash.
Oh, the call centers?
Yeah, the customer service call centers at the new bank would just instantly collapse under the weight of millions of simultaneous phone calls.
Right, because if even 10% of users have a question or a minor issue activating their card on day one.
That's 340,000 people flooding a call center at the exact same time?
The hold times would literally be days long.
Exactly. That is exactly the scenario they are avoiding.
So how are they staggering it?
They began mitigating this by moving all new enrollments over to Fifth Third back in May of 2026.
Okay, so if you're newly signing up, you're already on the new system.
Exactly. If you sign up for the first time around then, you were already placed on the new infrastructure.
Got it.
But the monumental task is migrating the existing legacy cardholders. That transition is happening in highly controlled phases.
Phased out over time.
Right, starting in the summer of 2026 and stretching deliberately well into 2027.
Okay, I really want to highlight the most crucial point here for anyone listening who relies on this program. Your benefit amounts and your payment schedules are absolutely not changing.
Yes, that is so important to emphasize.
Your money is still going to be there on the exact same day it always is. You just keep using the current Comerica card you have in your wallet right now until the physical new one arrives in the mail from Fifth Third.
Right, the day-to-day mechanics of accessing your cash will remain completely stable.
So people shouldn't panic if they haven't gotten a new card yet.
Not at all. You will receive a physical advance notice in the mail before the actual switch takes place for your specific account.
And then once the card arrives.
Once that new card arrives, the activation process mirrors what you are already completely used to doing.
Okay, so no crazy new tech to learn.
No. You can call the phone number included in the secure envelope, or you can activate it through the official Direct Express website.
It's simple enough.
Yeah. The infrastructure behind the card is changing, but the muscle memory of how you actually access your funds is intentionally being kept the exact same.
Which is smart. But that structural change really leads us directly to the natural next question.
Right. Why do this at all?
Exactly. If this logistical undertaking is so incredibly difficult and inherently risky for the most vulnerable people in the country, why is the Treasury forcing this change?
It's a very fair question.
Why break a 16-year-old system? We have to look at Comerica's track record here, because they weren't exactly just quietly running a perfect program.
No, they certainly were not.
For years, they were under intense scrutiny, and it really all climaxed in December 2024.
Yeah, the underlying dysfunction of the old system really became public record when the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the CFPB, stepped in.
And they actually filed a lawsuit against Comerica.
They did. And when you look at the specific allegations in that lawsuit, the human toll becomes very clear.
It's pretty shocking.
It is. The CFPB alleged that Comerica had systematically disconnected millions of customer service calls from Direct Express users.
Wait, let's put that into perspective. You are an 80-year-old living entirely on a monthly veteran's benefit.
Right.
You go to the grocery store, your card is declined, and you realize someone has drained your account.
Total panic.
Absolute panic. So you call the fraud hotline to get your money back, and the call just drops.
And it drops again and again.
And the CFPB alleged this wasn't just a glitch. They said it was a systemic failure affecting millions of calls.
Yeah.
I mean, that isn't just bad customer service. That is a complete systemic abandonment of a highly vulnerable population.
And the allegations actually went further than just abandoned calls.
Really?
Yeah, the agency claimed that the bank charged improper ATM fees to more than 1 million cardholders.
Wow. Even though the program has protections against that.
Exactly. The Direct Express program is specifically structured to provide a certain number of fee-free withdrawals, recognizing that these users just cannot afford constant surcharges.
Right.
But the lawsuit alleged those protections were failing. And honestly, most critically, they alleged that Comerica fundamentally mishandled fraud claims.
Which is terrifying if your account is drained.
Right, because under federal regulations, banks have a strict duty to investigate unauthorized charges and restore stolen funds within very specific timeframes.
But they weren't doing that.
Well, the CFPB claimed Comerica was failing to meet those legal obligations, which left victims permanently out of pocket.
Now, in the interest of full fairness, We do have to state clearly that Comerica fiercely disputed all of these allegations.
Yes, they did. They pushed back hard.
They fought the CFPB on this, and eventually the lawsuit was actually dropped without a formal ruling against the bank.
Right. But regardless of the legal outcome, the damage to the relationship with the federal government was just entirely fractured.
It was done.
Yeah. The Treasury Department looked at the sheer volume of complaints, all the regulatory friction, and they decided they absolutely needed a new operator to take over.
Even with the lawsuit dropped.
Even with it dropped. The political and operational reality was that the Treasury just could not renew the contract under those conditions.
But finding a new bank has to be tough.
Finding a financial institution capable of taking over the Direct Express program is remarkably difficult.
Because it's not a huge moneymaker.
Exactly. You are asking a bank to absorb 3.4 million high-need customers who, by definition, do not generate the typical revenue streams that banks rely on.
Right. No mortgage interest or high-yield investment fees here.
Yeah, none of that.
And that difficulty is proven by what happened next, because the Treasury's initial choice to take over wasn't actually Fifth Third.
No, it wasn't. They originally tapped BNY, the Bank of New York Mellon, to handle this massive contract.
Which is a huge bank.
BNY is a massive, highly capable institutional player, but taking over a retail-level customer service apparatus for millions of unbanked citizens.
It's a totally different game.
It is an entirely different operational beast, and DNY ultimately backed away. The deal fell through.
So they were back to square one.
Right. It wasn't until later in the process that Fifth Third Bank stepped up, won the contract, and was assigned an effective takeover date of September 2025.
So here's where it gets really interesting, because the timeline gets genuinely bizarre.
It does get weird.
And I really want to push back on what the Treasury is allowing to happen here. In late 2025, Fifth Third is officially named the new operator.
Right.
We are told the problems are solved, the old operator is out, and new management is taking over to clean up the mess.
That was the narrative.
But just months later, in a deal that completely closed in February 2026, Fifth Third Bank outright acquired Comerica.
Yeah, they bought the entire company.
The incoming bank now legally owns the outgoing bank.
I know how it looks.
How are we supposed to believe we are actually getting a new provider? I mean, if I hire a new contractor because the old one did a terrible job,
Right.
and then the new contractor just buys the old contractor's business and uses the exact same crew, I haven't fixed my house.
It's a very valid concern.
I need you to explain how this isn't just a massive corporate shell game. Because it sounds like we are just putting a new coat of paint on the exact same broken house.
That is a completely rational skepticism. When you look at the timeline of the contract award, followed immediately by the corporate acquisition, it absolutely looks like a bureaucratic illusion.
Right.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, to understand why this is actually a real change, we have to separate corporate ownership from technological infrastructure.
Okay.
Think of it like a major corporation buying a failing airline.
Walk me through that.
If you buy a failing airline, yes, you now own all of their broken and outdated airplanes.
Right.
But the federal government, in this case, the Treasury, isn't just hiring you to fly the old planes under a new corporate logo.
Ah, I see.
The Treasury contract explicitly mandates that you must build and operate an entirely new, modern fleet.
So they can't just use the old servers.
Exactly. Fifth Third isn't just taking Comerica's old failing servers, slapping a Fifth Third logo on the website and calling it a day.
They have to upgrade.
The contract they signed legally obligates them to build out a modernized system with new technological standards to fulfill the specific terms of the federal agreement.
So even though the corporate profits are ultimately rolling up to the exact same boardroom, the actual technological machinery handling the money is being forced to upgrade.
Because the Treasury contract demands it. That is the crucial distinction.
Okay, that makes me feel a little better.
And we are already seeing the evidence of that technological leap. Fifth Third has publicly committed that over the life of this new contract, they are introducing features that the legacy Direct Express program simply never had the capability to support.
Like what kind of features?
We are talking about the implementation of virtual cards and full integration with digital wallets, like Apple Pay and Google Wallet.
Oh, wow. So you could just use your phone.
Exactly. For traditional banking customers, tapping your phone at the grocery store has been normal for a decade.
Right. We don't even think about it.
But for the unbanked population relying on federal benefits, This represents a monumental leap forward in financial inclusion.
It really brings them into the modern era.
It brings their tools closer to parity with the broader economy.
That actually makes a lot of sense. The mechanism of the technology is changing, even if the corporate names are kind of blending together.
Exactly.
But the reality of implementing that new technology brings us to really the most critical part of this conversation.
Yes, the vulnerability period.
Right, because this upgrade fundamentally requires physically mailing 3.4 million new plastic debit cards to mailboxes all across the country over the next year.
It's a massive physical operation.
And it is creating a historic window of opportunity for bad actors. I mean, the confusion surrounding the corporate merger, combined with this staggered rollout schedule, it is a perfect storm for scammers.
It absolutely is.
We have to look at how this transition is actively putting people's assets at risk right now on the street level.
Any period of systemic transition is inherently dangerous, but this specific situation is uniquely vulnerable.
Because it deals with people's only source of income.
Right. When you introduce a major disruption to a deeply ingrained routine, especially one involving income, you introduce fear, and scammers weaponize that fear.
Let's start with the absolute most basic mechanical defense mechanism you have. The easiest way to protect yourself right now is to just verify your physical mailing address.
Yes, do this today.
These are placement cards, and the advance warning letters leading up to them are being mailed automatically to the last known address on file.
Which is dangerous if you've moved.
Exactly. If you have moved in the last few years, or say you are managing the affairs of an elderly relative who recently relocated to an assisted living facility, and you forgot to update the federal portal.
That live debit card is going to be delivered to a stranger's mailbox.
Which is terrifying.
A physical debit card floating in the postal system with your federal benefits attached to it is a critical security failure.
So don't wait on this.
No, updating your address is not something you should put off until you hear your phase is approaching. You need to do it immediately.
What's the best way to do that?
The official mechanism to do this is to log into your secure account at sa.gov or to call the Social Security Administration directly at 1-800-772-1213.
And do not just rely on the post office forwarding your mail.
Oh, absolutely not. Mail forwarding is simply not secure enough for financial instruments.
Okay, so that covers the physical mail. But the far more insidious threat right now is happening on people's cell phones.
Get rid of text messages.
Yes, we need to talk about the phishing schemes, because right now, scammers are having an absolute field day.
They really are.
The classic scam involves a text message popping up on your phone that says something to the effect of, "Urgent alert. Your Direct Express card has been suspended due to an error with your fifth third transition."
And then it includes a link.
Right. Click this link immediately to verify your account and restore your monthly benefits. Now, we all get spam texts, but I want to break down why this specific tactic is so incredibly devastating during this exact window of time.
It really comes down to the psychology of expectation.
How so?
Well, in a normal month, if an 80-year-old beneficiary receives a text message claiming they are getting a new card in the mail, they might recognize it as spam because they aren't expecting anything to change.
Right, they'd be like, "I didn't ask for a new card."
Exactly. But right now, the government has loudly and publicly announced, expect official notices in the mail, expect a new card, expect the name of the bank to change to Fifth Third.
Oh, wow, so they are primed for it.
The beneficiary's natural skepticism is artificially lowered because they are actively anticipating unusual communications.
That is what makes it so brilliant and honestly, so cruel.
It is.
The scammers are taking a completely true fact, the fact that a transition is happening, and they are using it as a Trojan horse to deliver a lie.
They use the reality of the disruption to bypass your normal critical thinking.
You panic, you think your social security check is blocked, you click the link, and you type in your current card number just to prove who you are.
And just like that, they drain your entire account.
Which is why we need to establish absolute non-negotiable rules of engagement for this transition.
Yes.
The institutions involved, the Treasury Department, the Social Security Administration, Fifth Third Bank, or even the outgoing Comerica, will never operate this way.
Never. They will never contact you out of the blue via text, email, or a phone call and ask you to provide your full card number.
They won't ask for your PI.
They will never ask you to recite your PIN over the phone. They will never ask for your online password, and they will never ask for the 3-digit security code on the back of your card.
Let's be unequivocally clear on this. If your phone rings and the caller ID even says Direct Express customer service,
Which is easy to fake, by the way.
right, And the voice on the other end asks you to verify your PIN to expedite your new card delivery. It is a scam.
100% a scam.
Official channels will simply never ask you to click a random hyperlink in a text message to unlock an account. If a message demands immediate panicked action, that is your primary red flag.
Absolutely. And as the physical cards actually begin to arrive in mailboxes over the course of 2026 and 2027, you must know how to visually authenticate the plastic itself.
Because there are fake cards going around too.
Yes, scammers are also mailing out fake cards with instructions to call a fraudulent activation number. There are highly specific visual identifiers you need to look for.
Right, let's walk through the physical anatomy of the cards. Your legacy card, the one you've relied on for years, has the Comerica Bank logo printed clearly right on the front of the plastic.
But the genuine replacement card you receive will look different.
How so?
A real verified new card will have the phrase, "This card is issued by Fifth Third Bank," printed clearly on the back of the card.
Okay, so Fifth Third on the back.
Yes. If you receive a piece of mail that doesn't match that exact description, or if you receive a letter telling you to expect a card from some third-party processor, stop everything.
Do not call the number on the suspicious letter.
No. Visual verification is your frontline defense. However, we have to operate in reality, and the reality is that these scams are highly sophisticated.
They look real.
They are designed by professional criminal networks to trick intelligent people.
Yeah.
If you click a link in a moment of confusion, or if you realize you just gave your information to someone on the phone who felt legitimate but now seems suspicious.
The most important factor is speed, right?
Exactly. You cannot wait around to see if a fraudulent charge appears. You must act instantly to freeze the funds.
Let's outline the exact triage process if you realize you've been compromised. Step 1. You physically turn over your current debit card, the one already in your wallet, and you dial the customer service number printed directly on the plastic.
Yes. You do not search Google for the customer service number.
Why not?
Because scammers buy ads to place fake phone numbers at the top of search results.
Oh, that's devious.
It is. You call the number on the physical card and you report the compromise to the bank so they can freeze the account.
Okay, and what is step 2?
Step 2 is reporting the incident to federal authorities, specifically the Federal Trade Commission. You can file a highly detailed report online at reportfraud.ftc.gov.
And step 3?
Step 3 is contacting the Office of the Inspector General for the Social Security Administration. Their dedicated fraud hotline is available online at oig.ssa.gov, or you can call them directly at 1-800-269-0271.
I know people sometimes think reporting it is just a waste of time if the money is already gone. Why is that reporting mechanism so critical right now?
Because you are not dealing with a lone individual in a basement.
Right.
You are dealing with organized syndicates that target vulnerable demographics. By reporting the specific phone number they called from, the exact phrasing of the text message, or the fraudulent website they linked you to.
They're giving them puzzle pieces.
Exactly. You are providing the FTC and the OIG with the data points they need to shut down the infrastructure of the scam entirely. You are literally helping to protect the next beneficiary in line.
So what does this all mean? If we synthesize everything we've talked about today regarding the scammers, the best operating philosophy is simple. You need to treat any unexpected text message, phone call, or email regarding this transition exactly like you would treat an uninvited masked stranger knocking on your front door at 2 in the morning.
That's a great analogy.
You do not just open the door and hand them your wallet because they claim to be from the bank. You look through the people. You verify their identity through independent channels. You verify before you ever extend trust.
Exactly. And the broader context to keep in mind here is that while the underlying mechanics are highly complex, the ultimate objective of this entire operation is positive.
It's meant to help.
Right. The legacy infrastructure is being retired because it failed the people it was supposed to serve.
True.
The physical plastic in your wallet is being swapped, and the corporate entities managing the data are shuffling. But the Treasury's singular goal is to provide a modernized, seamless, and significantly more reliable mechanism for you to access your vital benefits.
It is a massive undertaking. We've looked at the sheer logistical weight of migrating 3.4 million unbanked Americans without missing a single payment schedule.
Which is no small feat.
We've untangled the bizarre corporate reality of Fifth Third winning the contract and then immediately swallowing up Comerica to take over the infrastructure.
Right.
And we've broken down the psychological tactics scammers are currently using to exploit the confusion of the rollout.
The critical takeaway for anyone navigating this is that while the institutional infrastructure is finally evolving to meet modern standards, your personal vigilance has to evolve simultaneously.
It really does.
It is a highly vulnerable time, but it is an entirely manageable one if you rely exclusively on official channels, update your physical address, and ignore unsolicited communications.
Absolutely.
But as we step back from the immediate mechanics of the transition, looking at the promised upgrades, this raises an important question about the future of federal benefits in America.
That's an interesting pivot. What is the broader implication we should be watching as this staggered rollout finally completes in 2027?
Well, we discussed how Fifth Third's new infrastructure mandate includes the introduction of virtual cards and digital wallets.
Right, tapping your phone to pay.
From a pure security standpoint, this is a massive leap forward.
Yeah.
If you eliminate physical plastic cards entirely, you essentially eradicate the risk of mail theft.
Which is huge.
You defeat the physical card skimmers hidden on gas station pumps, and you make it incredibly difficult for a scammer to simply ask for a physical card number over the phone.
Because there isn't one.
Exactly. But as we race toward a purely digital financial ecosystem, we have to ask, will this aggressive push toward smartphone-based banking inadvertently leave our most vulnerable citizens stranded on the wrong side of a growing digital divide?
Oh, that's a tough question.
Can an infrastructure designed around Apple Pay truly serve an 85-year-old living in a rural community who relies entirely on physical cash and doesn't even own a smartphone?
Probably not easily.
It creates a profound tension between achieving absolute cryptographic security and maintaining practical, everyday accessibility for the unbanked. And how the Treasury navigates that tension is something we will all need to monitor closely in the coming years.
That is a brilliant point to end on. We want the highest possible security to prevent fraud. But if the security mechanisms are too complex for the end user to actually buy their groceries, the system has failed just as completely as it did under the old infrastructure.
Exactly right.
Finding that balance is going to be the defining challenge for the new operators. Well, thank you to everyone for spending your time with us today. We hope this conversation arms you with the knowledge you need to navigate this transition safely, protect your assets, and understand the massive shifts happening just beneath the surface of your wallet. Stay vigilant out there and take care.